rousing, boisterous, tumultuous welcome ever given to any visiting or local celebrity, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, Emperor of Ethiopia, arrived. The crowd erupted into a frenzy of rejoicing as they broke through the lines of soldiers and police and surged out onto the tarmac, eager to engulf the Emperor with their affections.
I had always wished to come and visit Jamaica. Now, thank God, this wish of mine has been fulfilled.
Bodies in a panic because we have been victimized. We have not known what is going to happen to us. We are suffering. Bodies in a panic because we have been victimized. We have not known what is going to happen to us. We are suffering.
Palisadoes Airport, the arrival of a living legend. To some, he was the King of Kings, the Lion of Judah, even a god. But to most, he was a mild-mannered monarch.
If only I was alive April 21st, 1966. I could be telling you of my experience about this story, but unfortunately, I was born 2 decades late. So on April 21st, 1966, that day in Jamaica was declared a public holiday, and this was in honor of the Emperor's first state visit to Jamaica. People were so excited about him coming to the island that they actually went to the airport from the night before. People arrived there in any way that they could. They went by car, by truck, by bus, by bicycle, by foot. They were not to be deterred. This was historical for them. It was actually the largest crowd that has ever gathered at the Palisadoes Airport, now known as the Norman Manley International Airport. There was drum beats and chants that was heard almost non-stop. And this provided an almost hypnotic rhythm. And of course, we had the smell of ganja that was in the air. And this was completing a welcome that was unprecedented in size and expectation for the Emperor on his first state visit to Jamaica.
Last, the most rousing, boisterous, tumultuous welcome ever given to any visiting or local celebrity, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, Emperor of Ethiopia, arrived. The crowd erupted into a frenzy of rejoicing as they broke through the lines of soldiers and police and surged out onto the tarmac, eager to engulf the Emperor with their affections.
On the day that the Emperor had arrived in Jamaica, it was a very rainy day, but of course, that didn't stop anybody from wanting to see this historic moment. So finally, when they saw the roaring lion and stripes of red, green, and gold that finally came into view, guess what happened? The rain stopped. So people shouted, "See how God stopped the rain?" The sound from the crowd was deafening as masses of people rushed to get closer to the island's distinguished visitor. The crowd simply broke down any barriers that stood in their way, so they positioned themselves in the best way that they could. But 45 minutes after the plane landed, he still had not exited, so the crowd was outside confused and they wondered what was going on. At 2:15 p.m., the Emperor finally exited the plane to a roar that sounded like thunder. Brother George Huggins of Accompong, he tried to explain the enthusiastic welcome, and this is what he said. "It is hard to put in words what seeing this man, this great man, the Lord of Lords in Jamaica, meant to us in the Rastafarian community. We had heard so much about him for so long, end quote. Seeing how many people were so excited to see the emperor, this even surpassed his wildest imagination because tears came to his eyes as he held up his hands in what could have been a half royal gesture and a half call for calm. The crowd was thrilled beyond reason and they continued crying out, "God is with us! Me touch his garment." They paid no attention to the heed of the call for calm.
The ceremonial welcome that was planned had to be abandoned as the avalanche of men, women, and children swept away all semblance of order. Ethiopia, a monarchy on the eastern side of Africa, has been governed since 1930 by Haile Selassie, whom history records as being a direct descendant of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Jamaica was among the places visited by His Imperial Majesty on his tour of the Caribbean area. Huge crowds jostled for choice vantage points all along the route in the hope of seeing the emperor. The National Stadium was the scene of the civic welcome extended by the government of Jamaica to His Imperial Majesty. The Emperor's address to the Assembly and people of Jamaica was in his native Amharic and was translated by a member of his party.
I had always wished to come and visit Jamaica. Now, thank God, this wish of mine has been fulfilled. Upon arrival to Jamaica, I have seen more than I had expected. I have seen the progress of the people, and I have seen their determination to march forward in unity towards greater progress. I have also witnessed personally the extent of the feeling of the Jamaican people to the Ethiopian people. Again, I wish to take this opportunity of expressing my thanks to the government and people of Jamaica for the paternal reception that was accorded to me.
At the time of the emperor's visit, Ras Michael, he hosted a Lion of Judah hour, and this was aired on the Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation's radio station, and he only showcased music that dealt with Rasta themes, but he also had snippets of African culture in it as well. He also said that Jamaica got to see what Rasta was telling them for years. This was a recognition of the people's African heritage. When His Majesty came, it gave the people a chance to learn about their African history. Haile Selassie died in August 1975, 1 year after he was overthrown by a coup. He was 83 years old at the time of his death. The emperor had visited Jamaica during a period where Rastas were getting high persecution and they were facing a lot of prejudice. There was an incident that occurred Good Friday 1963 in which 6 civilians, including 3 Rastafarians and 2 policemen, died in an incident that occurred in Montego Bay. To be precise, Coral Gardens. Among the dead was Rudolph Franklin. He was the militant leader of the Rasta group that had set the Ken Douglas Shell Service Station on fire. He killed civilians and 2 cops. Their names were Corporal Clifford Melbourne and Inspector Bertie Scott. At that time, the Prime Minister of Jamaica was Sir Alexander Bustamante. So he went to St. James with the Commissioner of Police and the head of the Jamaica Defense Force. There, a strong detachment of police from neighboring parishes was dispatched to Coral Gardens and also to the surrounding areas, where more than 150 bearded men were rounded up and arrested. There were reports that many of these people had no part in the incident, yet they were arrested, jailed, beaten, and tortured.
What a war to bust a cabinet singing what a war. The what a war to bust standing cabinet singing what a war.
Everybody's in fear, everybody's in a panic because we have been victimized. We have not known what is going to happen to us. We are suffering.
Yeah, man, the wickedest fight Rasta get in Jamaica was through the Coral Gardens.
The violence in Coral Gardens was triggered by a land dispute the previous year involving Franklin. Franklin was a Cornwall College graduate who had embraced the Rastafarian faith. He was reportedly farming illegally on land in the trial area owned by the Kerr-Jarrett family. During an altercation with a police officer, he was shot 5 times and left for dead in a churchyard. He was discovered by school children. Franklin was taken to hospital where he was treated, but on his release was charged with possession of ganja. He was sentenced to 6 months in prison, and according to those who knew him, he was embittered when he was released in early 1963. Further police harassment, they said, pushed him over the edge and sparked the Coral Gardens attack. Franklin and 2 of his accomplices, Lloyd Waldron and Noel Bowen, were killed in Coral Gardens. 2 others, Carlton Bowen and Clinton Larman, were charged with murder and went on trial in July 1964. They were found guilty and sentenced to hang following a month-long trial presided over by Justice Ronald Small. Bowen and Larman were hanged on December 2nd, 1964. Many had believed that this affair had been sparked from discrimination against Rasta.
Babylon who really come. Because it's a stigma with the said government here. This was the said JLP government was in power during them time with I said them put a stigma about Rasta, like Rasta is a black heart man, them all catch people and kill them and all them things. So that is why them spread these tags.
In 1963, one thing I am sure about, it could never happen in 2013. And I will never allow that to happen to I again. And when we say fire, they mean what? Fire!
In April 2017, following a legal investigation, the government of Jamaica issued an official apology and they condemned the government's actions in the incident. And so a trust fund was established for survivors as reparations.
Today is 56 years, 2 months, 8 days, no comment from no one. They treat us like animals. We tired of them now, I can say it. And I tell Mr. Chang to tell Prime Minister, say, we're going to go demonstrate because they take too long. Out of my division, 2017 dead, not get none yet.
Most of the brethren perishing right now. Need doctor of care and you cannot find no money. Some sick out can't move, cannot be here today. I even me have myself right now. I'm in pain. I have a high pressure. For a drama from those days, from 1963, I drama until this day.
Earlier this year, the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society said a social inquiry report was required before compensation could be granted to the survivors. They said the process of data gathering for the report started last June, but they were awaiting an update from the Public Defender's Office. It's still not clear if that report has been done. But the Rastafarians say the process is taking too long. They feel that at the current rate, none of them will live to get anything.
And not because my face is so clean, but I have suffered. I've suffered the cause of it, the cause of Rastafari, what took place in Coral Gardens in 1963. And it is time now, after the Prime Minister, Most Honorable Andrew Onis, has promised to recompense us from what we have suffered. I feel it's time enough now for we to receive what we have deserved to get.
Heavy here, a brethren passed on. There's only a few of us already have left. And so we are asking the government to speed up the process. If we can get the compensation now, we are ready.
So we are asking the government now to fulfill the demands and not to carry an eye going around for many of the elders that suffer the brutality of Coral Garden pass away and man is sick now. So we need the recompense.
I come humbly as representative of this administration to take steps to right a wrong. We acknowledge that for 56 years, you, our Rastafari brothers and sisters, have lived with the physical, psychological, and emotional scars of that incident at Coral Gardens and the atrocities you experienced over the years. We also know that you feel that successive governments have let you down by not sufficiently acknowledging what you have been through. We are taking steps to change that. Grange, who also has responsibility for reparations, said she hoped that the establishment of the trust would help make amends for what happened in 1963 and assist in repairing the relationship between Rastafarians in Jamaica and their government. In 2018, the ministry transferred $12.7 million to the Administrator General to establish the trust fund. The public defender had proposed a trust fund of no less than 10 million Jamaican dollars. Brother Frey, who has been a Rastafarian for more than 60 years, on Thursday said he was happy that the survivors of the Coral Gardens incident were finally getting justice. He prayed that, and I quote, "Jah Rastafari would bless us all and keep us together as one people and unite our hearts in truth and in righteousness, in love and in purity." End quote. So we've reached the end of the video, but before I go, I have a fun fact for you. Jamaica is the birthplace of Rastafarianism. I just thought I'd let you guys know that. Alright, I thank you all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. And I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care of yourselves. One love.